Did you survive in your one room? Wait, you have an unwanted visitor. Call someone you fancy. Could be the right person for the job.
South Korea's Army, Naval, and Air Force academies came together for a joint commissioning ceremony on Friday. At the event, President Lee Jae-myung reaffirmed his commitment to further integrate the three service academies, underscoring the need for greater unity across the armed forces. North Korea claims to have convened a rare Workers' Party Congress, with leader Kim Jong-un highlighting what he called economic gains. Nearly 4 years since Russia began its full-scale invasion of Ukraine, the war shows no clear path to an end. Fighting continues along the front lines, while diplomatic efforts to broker peace have so far produced little tangible progress. We begin with a joint commissioning ceremony for South Korea's military cadets today, where President Lee Jae-myung delivered a commencement address, reaffirming his pledge to integrate the country's three service academies. Our Blue House correspondent Song Yujin starts us off.
For the first time in nearly a decade, South Korea's Army, Naval, and Air Force academies held a joint commissioning ceremony on Friday. Standing before 558 graduating cadets, President Lee Jae-myung used his commencement address to underscore the need for greater jointness among the services.
급변하는 현대 안보 환경을 고려한다면 땅과 바다와 하늘 모든 영역에서의 긴밀한 협력과 통합된 작전 수행 능력은 필수입니다. 앞으로는 6회 공군 사관학교를 통합하여 미래 전장을 주도할 국방 인재를 더욱 체계적으로 양성할 것입니다.
Integrating the three academies was one of President Lee's campaign pledges aimed at strengthening the military's ability to conduct joint operations. The move is also intended to reduce the concentration of influence among Army Academy graduates, especially after several Korea Military Academy trained officers were found to have played key roles in planning former President Yoon Suk-yeol's short-lived martial law declaration in 2024. The fact that this year's commissioning ceremony was held jointly for the first time since 2017 has fueled expectations that integration efforts could speed up. As commander-in-chief, President Lee touched on the importance of building a more advanced, self-reliant military, strengthening capabilities through cutting-edge technologies, and regaining wartime operational control from the United States. He further called on the newly commissioned officers to work to restore public trust, emphasizing that the military exists to serve and protect the people.
군의 지난 과오를 철저히 반성하고 전련하여 오로지 주권자인 국민만 바라보는 진정한 국민의 군대로 거듭납시다.
His remarks come as part of ongoing efforts to rebuild public confidence following the military's deployment to the National Assembly during martial law, when troops were sent to block lawmakers from voting to lift the decree. 송유진, 아리랑 뉴스.
President Lee Jae-myung has promised to bolster support for science and engineering. Attending a commencement ceremony at KAIST on a Friday, he was critical of the R&D budget cuts by the previous administration and touted his government's expansion of the basic research budget by more than 17% this year. He promised to build a robust safety net where no scientist has to abandon their research due to a lack of funding. The president noted the school's newly created College of AI will serve as a key foundation in making South Korea one of the world's top 3 AI powerhouses. Now, more than 3,000 students graduated from the nation's leading tech school on Friday. North Korea has opened its 9th Congress of the ruling Workers' Party. Over the coming days, the gathering is expected to lay out economic and policy priorities for the next 5 years, with international attention also fixed on whether leader Kim Jong-un will signal a future role for his daughter. An Sung-jin reports.
North Korea began the 9th Congress of the ruling Workers' Party of Korea on Thursday. According to its state media, the Korean Central News Agency on Friday, the Congress, the regime's most significant political event, opened in Pyongyang. In his opening address, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un said he is filled with optimism and confidence about the future. He said that compared to the situation 5 years ago at the previous party Congress, North Korea had irreversibly consolidated its national status and brought about significant changes in the global political landscape. Kim's speech did not mention the United States, South Korea, or the North's nuclear capabilities, but rather focused on economic issues. Kim stressed that the party is working on boosting economic development and improving people's livelihoods through regional development policies and rural reform programs. A notable change from the previous Congress is a generational shift in the executive body leadership. Most of Kim's close aides have retained prominent positions, but 59% of the executive body have been replaced. Senior figures including Kim Young-chul have been removed, and instead Foreign Minister Choi Sun-hee and Defense Minister No Kwang-chul have been added to the executive body. Foreign Minister Choi has been one of the most prominent voices in Pyongyang's redefining of inter-Korean relations as those between two hostile states. Meanwhile, attention is also focused on whether Kim's daughter Kim Joo-ae will be formally designated as his successor. Her appearances at major state events allegedly have been building up her public profile since late last year, potentially hinting at an elevated status
of North Korea's political system, which is very similar to a theocracy. Leader's gender does not really play a large role because the members are basically deities, not humans. So it is totally up to what Supreme Leader Kim Jong-un is going to decide.
The party Congress may clarify her future status within the regime. The Congress agenda includes reviewing the work of the party's Central Committee, revising party rules, and electing central leadership bodies. Around 5,000 delegates are attending the Congress, with 224 members from the central party bodies and 4,776 representatives elected from regional units. In North Korea, where the ruling party governs all state institutions, the Party Congress is the highest decision-making body and is expected to set domestic and foreign policy directions for the next 5 years. An Sung-jin, 아리랑 뉴스.
Nearly 4 years after Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine, the war shows a little sign of ending. As battles continue along the front lines, diplomatic efforts to secure peace have yet to yield meaningful progress. Jung Hae-rim tells us more.
Before February 2022, 47-year-old mother of 2 Tetiana Hemian was a ballroom dance instructor in the Donetsk region. Her days were filled with international competitions and teaching children. However, she was forced to abandon her career, and today she's a sniper in Ukraine's 78th Air Assault Regiment.
Life goes on. This is our life, and this is our choice, but a choice made within the realities we found ourselves in. We are ordinary people who simply ended up in extraordinary circumstances, but now it feels almost impossible to return to the life we had before.
Not only for Tetiana, but for millions of Ukrainians, there is no going back. Combined casualties for both nations are on track to reach 2 million by this spring, according to a new study by the Center for Strategic and International Studies. The data reveals nearly 1.2 million Russian troops and close to 600,000 Ukrainian troops have been killed, wounded, or are missing. Meanwhile, efforts to end the war through diplomacy continue. Talks between Russia, Ukraine, and the United States aimed at ending the war have ended without a breakthrough, with the latest round in Geneva lasting just 2 hours on Wednesday. Following a halt in U.S. war funding, the Trump administration has launched a diplomatic campaign to force both sides to the table.
Parties, both sides agreed to update their respective leaders and to continue to work towards a peace deal together. So there will be another round of talks in the future, but I think the president views this entire situation as very unfair, not just for Russians and Ukrainians who have lost their lives, but also for the American people and the American taxpayer who were footing the bill for this war effort before.
Washington is reportedly urging Ukraine to consider territorial concessions, including a possible demilitarized zone in the heavily fortified Donetsk region. But Kyiv warns that giving up land without firm security guarantees would allow Moscow time to regroup and launch another invasion. As the war approaches its 4th anniversary, Ukraine's future remains uncertain. With peace talks stalled and fighting ongoing, millions like Tetiana continue to live a reality shaped by war, with no clear return to the past. 정혜림, 아리랑 뉴스.
Rising trade tensions with Washington from U.S. tariff threats to fallout over the Kupang investigation are stoking concern in Seoul that vital security talks with the U.S. could be jeopardized, with Washington yet to confirm its delegation for those discussions. Oh Soo-young has more.
Concerns are growing in Seoul that trade issues with the United States are slowing crucial security negotiations. Last November's Korea-US joint fact sheet tied together economic and security tracks, a $350 billion investment into the US, and follow-up talks on nuclear-powered submarines and broader nuclear cooperation, including uranium enrichment and spent fuel reprocessing. Security discussions were expected to begin early this year, with a US delegation to visit Seoul by early March. But President Donald Trump has since threatened to raise reciprocal tariffs on Korean exports from 15% to 25%, pushing Seoul to speed up legislation on implementing US investments. At the same time, tensions have widened to the digital sector, with e-commerce giant Kupang emerging as a flashpoint. Amid a probe into the US company by Korean authorities over its user data leak last year, the US House Judiciary Committee has subpoenaed Kupang Korea's acting head Harold Rogers, with lawmakers accusing Korean authorities of targeted attacks.
So this digital focus is pretty in line, frankly, with the Trump administration's earlier approach to grab a hold of all of these aspects to lean into this America First framing. That's the dynamic that kind of hoists up Trump's overarching trade agenda. And we can see that in this projection of a so-called American company facing discrimination from this foreign power. That's the framing that the Trump administration is leaning into and has far before this Kupang controversy.
Seoul officials say the Kupang issue should be left out of formal government talks. But experts believe the Trump administration will keep raising the issue of non-tariff barriers.
That is something that Jameson Greer and Howard Lutnick and all of these different factions are on the same page about. There's an America First sort of covering through all of this that they're perceiving South Korea and their different trade negotiating partners with that is pretty consistent, while they do take pains to reiterate that the final decision is ultimately up to Trump.
With pressure on the trade track, National Security Advisor Wi Sung-lak has expressed concern that the repercussions are spreading into the security side. In fact, US State Secretary Marco Rubio told Foreign Minister Cho Hyun that the mood in Washington is not good, appearing to hint that tariff issues must ease before security talks proceed. As of Thursday, the Foreign Ministry says the US has not confirmed members of its security delegation. For now, Seoul has sent a working-level trade team to Washington this week. Internally, the government last week launched a temporary task force to coordinate US investment matters and tariff negotiations as Parliament works to pass the US investment bill by early March. 오수영 아리랑 News.
Blackpink's Rosé and Bruno Mars' collaboration track 아파트 is the best-selling track of 2025 globally after garnering more than 2 billion streams. That is, according to the International Federation of the Photographic Industry, which also said it's the first time that the chart has been topped by a non-European or North American artist, and also the first time the top track included non-English lyrics. Closely in second, and what was described as one of the most competitive years in the chart's history, was Golden by HUNTR, the animated girl group from the Netflix film K-pop Demon Hunters. The IFPI has been publishing the annual list since 2007. A new girl duo blending traditional Korean elements with modern music made its debut just a month ago, bringing a fresh new sound to K-pop. Our culture correspondent Park Kwon-woo has the story.
Surpassing 10 million views for their debut music video within a month, the fresh new duo dodree is drawing global attention for incorporating traditional Korean elements into their music while weaving traditional dance into their performances to create a lyrical and dreamlike atmosphere.
At first, it might feel unfamiliar or even difficult, but the charm, emotion, and energy of traditional Korean music can go beyond language. By blending it with more familiar genres, we wanted to make it easier for listeners to approach.
The name dodree reflects that mission, as it's a combination of the traditional rhythmic pattern dodree 장단 and the word free, reflecting their ambition to transcend genre boundaries through traditional sound. Youngju has trained in traditional Korean narrative singing pansori since the age of 3, coming from a third-generation family of traditional musicians, making the transition to dance an even greater challenge for her.
아리아리랑 스리스리랑 아라리가 났네 아리랑 아라리가 났네.
Wow.
I've been singing my whole life, so dancing while singing was my biggest challenge. But practice is the only answer. I want to become a role model who makes others feel that challenges don't have to be feared.
And Songhyun, who majored in traditional Korean dance, hopes to incorporate even more traditional styles into their performances.
Since this kind of music has no fixed answer, finding the right direction is our biggest task. I hope to become an artist who brings both charisma and joy on stage, one day incorporating traditional dance elements, such as drum performances, like tangu dance.
And it seems to be resonating globally as the duo says more global fans are engaging with them online, with some even calling them the real-life version of HUNTR.
Some said they burst into tears watching our performance. That made me feel that emotion can be truly delivered despite language differences. Like in K-pop Demon Hunters, just as K-culture blends naturally into the story, we hope to let the beauty of traditional Korean music blend naturally into K-pop.
Looking ahead, they say they hope to collaborate widely, even naming BTS, while expressing interest in exploring R&B and jazz. Despite their bold artistic direction, their goals remain grounded.
My goal is to always do my best with consistency, values that are emphasized strongly by JYP.
My biggest goal is to not lose myself as I continue this journey.
With humility guiding their journey, dodree is just beginning, bringing tradition into the future of K-pop while expanding the boundaries of the K-pop scene. 박건우, 아리랑 뉴스.
The number of visitors to the National Museum of Korea surpassed 1.15 million in just the first 2 months of the year. According to the museum on Friday, visitor numbers surpassed from January 1st to February 18th, rose 38.9% compared to the same period last year, fueling expectations that total annual attendance could once again surpass 6 million. Visitor numbers are likely to climb further later this month, as the museum will offer free admission to the special exhibition, The Great Admiral Lee Sun-shin, on February 25th and on March 1st. The museum will also host a collaborative event celebrating the release of Blackpink's new mini-album, Deadline. A renowned composer, Soo-chul, known for decades of musical innovation, is now translating sound into color with his first major solo art exhibition, showcasing paintings that visualize his sound paintings. Our Do Young-eun has more.
A vast black and white canvas captures the imagined sounds on distant planets. Sonic Genesis 30 and 31 reveal Soo-chul's surreal universe. In that other dimension, paint flows in every direction, with dark masses like black holes observing intense energy.
It doesn't stop with our world. Looking at the night sky, I grew curious about other planets, what they're like and what they sound like. So I imagined visiting them and I expressed those sounds and feelings.
On textured blue backgrounds, bold red circles burst outward, as if sound itself is vibrating through paints. The Sonic of Blue series layers sweeping blue brushstrokes to express the vitality of nature. His paintings span a spectrum from the sound of buds sprouting to emotions like sorrow and joy, and the metallic tones of distant planets.
I listened to conversations, the sounds of the world, distant sadness and joy, the sounds of dreams, and the living sounds of nature. And I painted the feelings of what I heard.
Nicknamed the Little Giant, Kim has shaped Korea's music scene for nearly half a century, from pop to traditional Korean music or kugak. His curiosity about the roots of Korean sound eventually led to his dedication to Korean music. He served as music director for 1986 Asian Games, the 1988 Summer Olympics, and the 2002 FIFA World Cup, bringing the spirit of Korean sound to global audiences.
We're working to make our traditional sounds more accessible to modern people, to bring Korean traditional music closer to everyday life and popularize it. We will continue modernizing and integrating our traditional sounds into daily life.
Kim continues to redefine artistic expression, now expanding his practice through sound paintings. Kim Soo-chul's Colors of Sound exhibition runs through March at Seoul Art Center. Do Young-eun, 아리랑 뉴스.
Hello and welcome. I am your AI sports correspondent, Arang. This section features AI-generated content and scripts, bringing you the latest news from the Olympic Winter Games Milano Cortina 2026. Here are our top stories. South Korea's women's curling team fell short of the Olympic semifinals following a 10-7 defeat against Canada on Friday. Despite 3 points in the third end and 2 points in the ninth, the squad could not overcome Canada's 4-point haul in the sixth end. This result left South Korea with a 5-4 record, placing the team fifth in the overall round-robin standings. The team missed the semifinals after the United States defeated Switzerland in an extra and to secure the final playoff position. South Korean figure skaters Yi-hae and Shin-jia recorded their highest scores of the season during the women's single free skate on Friday at the Milano Ice Skating Arena. Yi-hae earned a total of 210.56 points, surpassing her previous seasonal high by around 8 points. Shin-jia posted a personal best free skate score of 141.02 points, resulting in a combined total of 206.68 points. Despite a fall during a triple loop, Shin successfully concluded her debut Olympic performance and said she is now focused on the 2030 Winter Games. South Korean short track icon Kim In-jung is ready to make Olympic history on Saturday in Milan. The queen of short track is chasing her third consecutive gold medal in the women's 1,500-meter event. No skater in history has ever won 3 straight titles in a single individual race. A victory would also make her the most decorated South Korean Olympian of all time with 7 career medals. However, she faces a tough challenge from her teammate and world number 1, Kim Gil-lee. The world will be watching as Che goes for the Triple Crown early Saturday morning. South Korean speed skater Chung Jae-won is shifting focus to his main event, the men's mass start on Saturday in Milan. After a solid 14th place warm-up in the 1,500-meter on Friday, the 2022 silver medalist says he has fully adjusted to the Olympic ice. Jung believes his superior cornering technique will be his secret weapon against the field. He faces a high-stakes battle against American star Jordan Stoltz, who is hunting his 4th medal. While acknowledging Stoltz's explosive speed, Jung is confident his tactical precision can deliver the gold. The final is set for 12:40 a.m. on Saturday Korea time. Before we head out, let's look ahead. Appearing now on your screen are the current medal standings and the upcoming schedule for the Olympic Winter Games Milano Cortina 2026.
Spring is making a big entrance this week, even though it was a frosty start this morning, with temperatures dipping below freezing in many areas. Thanks to plenty of sunshine, it warmed up quickly. Afternoon temperatures climbed up to 13 degrees Celsius in Seoul, 15 degrees in Cheongju, and 17 degrees in Kimcheon, a good 2 to 8 degrees above average for this time of year. Tomorrow will feel even more like spring. Seoul will start the day at 5 degrees and jump to 17 degrees in the afternoon, which is about 7 degrees warmer than normal. Down south, daytime highs will get up to nearly 20 degrees, making it feel more like April than early spring. Tomorrow morning, most areas will start off with above freezing temperatures. Highs will rise to 16 to 19 degrees all over the country. Rain is forecast across much of the country from early Sunday morning through the afternoon. After many wonderful years, this is my final broadcast. Thank you for inviting me into your homes and sharing your time with me. It's truly been an honor. Thank you for everything and goodbye.
That's all we have for tonight. I'm Kim Da-mi. From all of us here at ARIRANG, thanks for watching and good night.
Curious about Korea?
And especially K-food? How familiar are you with Korean food? The sea on 3 sides, a mountainous terrain, and 4 distinct seasons. Thanks to these conditions, Korean cuisine bursts with diverse and unique flavors.
Do you prefer sweet or spicy?
A meat lover or a seafood connoisseur?
Can't decide?
There's got to be something here that you like.
For Koreans, rice is foundational. It's a staple and the centerpiece to all meals in Korea. There's bibimbap, rice mixed with vegetables, gukbap, rice in hot soup, and kimbap is the demand around the world.
For me, it's noodles over rice. Korea has amazing noodle dishes. Chuy ramen and cold naengmyeon to blow away the heat. A meat lover here, pork, beef, chicken, I like them all. Did you know that bulgogi is listed in the English dictionary? There's also the famous chimek, chicken and beer, which is the best combo for a night out with friends.
Surrounded by the sea on 3 sides, Korea has a great selection of seafood, from raw fish to piping hot seafood soups. It's mouth-watering just talking about it. The 2 pillars of Korean condiments, gochujang and soy sauce.
Ooh, what do you prefer?
Gochujang. I like anything made with gochujang. In general, Koreans love spicy food.
I prefer the soy sauce base. There's something about the salty and sweet that hits the right spot. I think even those who are trying Korean food for the first time will really like it.
But that's not all.
We can't leave out the street food. If you're in Korea, it's a must-try. They are both treats for your eyes and mouth.
How about it? Mouth-watering, right?
Korean food, you've got to try it. Discover a whole new world of flavors.
Millennials and Gen Zs are reshaping the world. News Generation shares their fresh perspectives on what's trending now. From global developments to everyday culture, we're diving into the stories that matter. This is News Generation. The Korean wave is drawing more fans from all over the world. Local consumer prices continue to hover at the 2% cent rate in April. Turning to robots to allow the visually impaired the chance to better indulge in cultural experiences. Like the number of hybrid cars are registered in South Korea has surpassed 2 million UT's locally developed Yuri rocket.
ARIRANG. Knock knock! The magical door to the world of K-animation is swinging wide open. Meet your instant new BFF, the adorable Catch. Tina Ping will have you hooked from the very first glance. Need a hand? Our Robocar Pony Rescue team is always zooming in to save the day. How about tagging along on Pinkfong and Pal's super exciting quest to reclaim their lost magic? With the mysterious life forms Cabion by your side, you can become a Cabion master and save humanity like the total hero. Protecting children's innocence while igniting their boundless imaginations. That's the magic of Korean animation. K-animation, the ultimate bestie for kids worldwide.
Welcome to Within the Frame, where we bring the most pressing issues across the globe into focus. I'm Kim Mo-gyan. With just a month to go until BTS's full group comeback, anticipation is building not only among fans but across the global music industry. After 4 years, they return with an album titled ARIRANG, drawing from one of Korea's most iconic traditional songs. This isn't simply about new music. It's about how a global pop act engages with heritage, identity, and symbolism at a moment when K-pop's influence is bigger than ever. From the choice of title to the scale of their upcoming performances, this comeback raises broader questions about culture, industry power, and global reach. So today, we take a closer look at what this moment could signal for BTS and for the future direction of K-pop. For more on this, we connect to Seoul Seji, Assistant Professor of Korean and East Asian Studies at Busan National University. A big welcome, Professor.
Hey.
And also joining us is Tamar Herman, a journalist and K-pop industry consultant. Good to see you.
Hi, how are you doing?
Thank you for joining us. So let's start with Ms. Herman. Like I've said, on March 20th, BTS is set to make their full group comeback with their fifth album, ARIRANG, their first complete return in almost 4 years. Mr. Herman, how high are expectations from the market and the fans as well? And what kind of changes do you foresee this bringing to the K-pop industry?
I think expectations are the highest they could ever possibly be. This is BTS's first real comeback since before the pandemic. They did a few things, together once the pandemic ended, but they had to cancel their last major tour before the pandemic. So they did do the Permission to Dance, a few shows, but it wasn't such a big scale. And then all the members had to enlist, and then they had their own solo career. So this feels like a big return to form. It's a new era for BTS, and the anticipation is very high. The members have been doing a lot of preparation. They've done a lot of solo interviews, group interviews. They just covered GQ here in the US, which is a phenomenal feat for any boy band. I can't ever remember one in my lifetime, being on the cover of a magazine like GQ. And just generally, it feels like a really big moment where BTS is kind of moving forward in a new direction at a new pace that fans are really ready for. And I think where BTS left as a group and to come back, things are very different just generally in the world. For K-pop, a lot of things have changed, but I think at the same time, BTS's career is a little separate from the rest of the K-pop because it's such its own entity. So I think it's hard to say necessarily that BTS's comeback will mean any specific change for K-pop, but I think that there's a lot going on that's happening in K-pop right now. So I think BTS, of course, will play a role in it, but on their own, they're just in such a big moment.
Right. Many even say that they themselves are just a new genre themselves. Now, beyond the market impact, then, Professor Seji, there is also a deeper cultural layer here. BTS has chosen the title ARIRANG for their fifth album, referencing the Korean traditional folk song that's listed as the UNESCO heritage. So beyond tradition, what kind of symbolism does this carry?
Well, this seems like maybe an easy question to a non-specialist, but it's incredibly complicated. For one thing, we can't even call ARIRANG just simply a song. There are over 60 well-known arirang, and each of them has distinctly different lyrics, different rhythms, different melody. I'm actually directly quoting from my previously published work here. Arirang is preserved today as dozens of songs sung with different lyrics and with different regional flavors. As historian E. Taylor Atkins explains, it is less a song than a skeletal framework for musical and poetic expression. So to qualify as an arirang, a composition requires little more than the refrain, arirang, arirang, aririyo. And so arirang actually began to incorporate Western elements during the colonial era, and it became arguably the best-known song of the entire Japanese Empire. The song was not already popular, not traditional culture, when the 1926 hit film Arirang used a version of the song arranged as a waltz in its soundtrack. And later that film became known as a resistance film, and therefore the title Arirang became associated with Korean nationalism and resisting the occupation by Japan. And that, is really complicated because some of the best known pop song versions of Arirang
were popularized during the colonial era. And through these orchestral versions, like the one arranged by John Barnes Chance in 1965, a lot of Koreans are now more accustomed to hearing a westernized 4/4 version of arirang than a version that retains traditional qualities, like using the semachi rhythm pattern. So perhaps I sound overly conservative saying this, but I hope that however BTS is using arirang, that it connects Koreans in the world to a traditional version of arirang, and arirang as a vehicle for resistance to cultural imperialism.
Right, so it definitely sheds light on the traditions of Korea, and it could be a statement about identity and heritage as well. Let's continue talking about this music. So BTS said that this Arirang album, it captures inner stories, longing, and also love. From a musical approach, Ms. Herman, what kind of changes or evolution can we expect from this album?
I think just generally, again, this is coming back to the fact that we're coming back to BTS after a period of absence, of growth, but also not necessarily absence. The members have released solo albums. Music trends have changed generally. You have to assume that people's musical artistry changes over time. They've just spent quite a lot of time working on this album. They very publicly they very publicly said that they were going to go work with producers in LA for a few months. And so they were really like invested in what this album would sound like. And they also are coming back with several years now of thought that they can put into this album. So I think it's going to be an album that shows both great change and also retrospective reflection on their past. So I'm excited to see what it shows. And they've been very much focusing on the theme of love, which has always been a forefront of a lot of their albums. So I for one, am personally really excited to see how they're going to relay it this time.
Right, many of us are really excited to look forward to that. Now, another thing to look up to is that BTS is scheduled to hold a solo concert at Gwanghwamun Square in March, first in Korean popular music history, of course. It has been reported that they'll use the historic road once walked by the kings from the Gyeongbokgung Palace to Gwanghwamun Square as part of the stage setting. Professor Seoji, what kind of symbolic message do you believe this actually conveys?
Well, it's kind of like a techno ritual. It's this method of reactivating history in a very technologically mediated present, because except for the very few lucky people who get to watch this in person, the rest of us are consuming it through screens, right? So BTS's choice to make this comeback at Gyeongbokgung and in front of Gwanghwamun is designed to symbolically draw attention to Korean history for millions of people from around the world who are going to be tuning into that Netflix broadcast. Koreans are accustomed to seeing Gwanghwamun, but the intentional juxtaposition of this very modern, very technologically advanced performance and the symbolic gate of a palace that dates back to 1395 is going to show Korean history in a new light. In fact, did you know that the gate was reconstructed several times and it was only rebuilt properly, reopening in 2010? So this is actually a very complex place which has experienced much turmoil, and it's wonderful to see it being brought alive and brought to the forefront in this way. But when Korean pop stars are placed within a space of Korean heritage, sometimes the heritage gets overwhelmed by the presentation, even the technology of what it is to present a pop concert, because you've got stage lights and video screens and they are pulling the eye. You're supposed to be looking at the artist, not the setting, which in this case, the setting is very symbolic, right? So it's my guess that the procession through the palace to Gwanghwamun, which is reported probably to be recorded in advance, that part of the broadcast is what's going to actually show Korean history, Korean architecture the best.
Right. Our Professor Seoji mentioned a lot of interesting topics, and we will cover each of them as we continue to talk. But first, I want to touch upon the BTS putting Korean elements front and center, not only through their music, but also through their choice of space. Ms. Herman, how is this strategy being received by fans abroad?
Generally, it's been a very important part of BTS's identity. Fan translators in general have been a huge major part of BTS's growth, because you don't just have exact translations, but interpretation of what BTS are saying throughout their music and what they're doing through their craft in general. So fans have always been very receptive to the Koreanness of BTS. I mean, they've been exploring their own identities through Korean, like their own Korean identities were very present in many of the earlier albums where they sang songs in using their own like Satori dialects. And then over time, you'll see, as the professor was speaking, I kept on thinking of the member Suga's own music videos. He's often taken on the role of the king in his music videos, and they've filmed and performed in very important cultural spaces in the past. So I think fans are very much receptive to it. I've seen a trend where people are going to be wearing hanbok to the concerts. And I've seen some hanbok designers like latching onto this, and it's very, it's fun to see what people are doing and how they're engaging with it. And I hope people learn as much as they enjoy it.
Right, let's hope for that. But as our Professor Seji just pointed out a while ago, there's also some concerns. Korean traditional musical elements are reinterpreted in modern K-pop, but there are worries for them becoming merely a decorative factor. So in terms of music and performance, Professor Seji, how can BTS move over that kind of limitation and concerns?
Honestly, it's going to take a lot. I think that RM and probably all the members are aware that the world has been consuming Korean things, elements of Korean tradition, as bits of spice. That to many people, the K is actually exoticization. And therefore, the use of Korean tradition always risks falling into this sort of trap of stereotyping or exoticizing your own country. Unfortunately, an artist like BTS can have a certain intention when they create music or when they use a set designed to highlight Korean tradition, but audiences will receive the performance and music in their own way, no matter what BTS's intention might be. So we've seen this throughout BTS's history. Fans told each other, oh, look, this is a reference to Nietzsche. But that doesn't mean that a lot of people actually went out and started engaging with the German philosopher's ideas. Right? So therefore, although I hope that something about the Gwanghwamun concert and the content on the ARIRANG album actually pushes fans to learn more deeply about Korean history and culture, I recognize that all BTS can do is point them in that direction, and it's actually up to fans to move beyond the surface.
Right, definitely. So it's really how authentic we can communicate with the fans. Now let's go back to the scale of the concert itself. It will host 15,000 people, but it will also be live streamed to around 190 countries via Netflix. Ms. Herman, what does this combination of a symbolic local space and a global OTT platform reveal about the evolution of K-pop, the industry?
Just before I go back to that, I want to just add to the professor's point about authentic communication for the fans. The fans have historically also really engaged with the themes and the philosophies that they've put forward in their music. So I think this might be another really great opportunity. But again, like you say, it's a matter of people wanting to learn about it. So we have to hope that people will engage however they're doing it, whether in person or over the internet, in a way that is positive and not stereotyping. And I think just generally the OTT element of it, K-pop going back to that, K-pop has always been really good, and Korean entertainment in general has always been really good at using various forms of media to tell the same story. So transmedia marketing and storytelling has always been a really important part of K-pop. You've got artists that are always online, they're always doing videos, they're always on different apps. And this is like another level of that, I think, but it's taking just the concert to the audiences in real time. We see that people really love live streamed events. We see this with sports events, and music is now becoming the next platform just generally. And so BTS going at this major scale at a really important place, the location isn't just necessarily historically important, but also that's where a lot of the democracy protests in Korea, especially just famously, just happened, the major one that everyone in the world was looking towards. So I think that the location combined with the visibility is something that Korea, the entertainment industry is really aware of and really capable at taking advantage of. And previously, one of the B-rolls was actually showing the light show that they put when Gwanghwamun, I think it was 2 years ago around the New Year, and I was actually there and I saw it and I thought, oh, this would be really cool for a larger event, and I'm really hoping they integrate that because you see kind of there's a storytelling in the way that Korean entertainment tends to use technology, and I think it's very interesting, and I think that really is represented by what BTS and their company is doing here.
Aside from that, another eye-opening factor was the tour numbers. Starting with concerts in Korea in April, BTS plans to launch a massive world tour spanning 34 cities and 82 shows. And their North American and European dates are already completely sold out. And some countries are even requesting additional shows. So what do these numbers actually tell us about the current global standing of BTS, Ms. Herman?
I think it's going to be one of the biggest tours that we see this year, not over the next few years. I personally have tickets for a few dates, so would appreciate some more dates also.
Lucky you.
It was really hard. I have really amazing friends, but I think that generally we see bigger tours becoming more of a cultural phenomena. Like Taylor Swift or Beyonce are well known for this at this point. Not only are they viral for like the moment itself for the concert, but it's like to partake in it is a new form of fandom communication or just like interpersonal communication. And people really go all out, they'll dress up. People will travel for it. There's a big boost to cities, economies. Cities now want to host these major concerts because they know fans will travel. They know fans will book. I saw a rinky-dinky motel in the Massachusetts area where the BTS is performing, like literally a Days Inn motel. I think it was going for over $1,000 a night when I looked, and that's honestly the norm for the hotels that are closest to a lot of these venues at the moment. So it's a really big boost. It's also obviously not great because it's price gouging. So there's a whole other conversation going on there. But I think generally the demand shows just how BTS has really gone above and beyond to become like the leaders of a generation. You're able to put on these tours that are not just moments and concerts that people go to and then they go home, but rather they're events and they're seismic and they're things that are going to elevate local economies quite immensely. And I don't want to downplay the economic impact that fans put into this also, but like it's bigger than just the idea of going to a show. It's so much greater than that. And I think they turned Las Vegas into a BTS city for a few days when they did their Permission to Dance tour. And I thought that was really phenomenal. They literally had the Bellagio fountain playing their songs. And to bring that feeling of a city being inclusion and over encompassing for like your concert, like what a phenomenal thing. And I think only a few people can really do that. And BTS are obviously up there.
Right, definitely. And it looks like the purple wave it's reaching a political arena too. We hear that the president of Mexico has reportedly requested additional tour dates too. Professor Seji, what kind of impact does the BTS tour have on Korea's national image and soft power?
Well, national image, yeah, lots of impact. But soft power, if you read my recent article in East Asia Forum, I've lost a lot of my belief in soft power because no matter what goodwill BTS can garner from Mexican fans by adding another date, I don't see any proof that this will end up benefiting international diplomatic goals of the Republic of Korea. The request, however, demonstrates the impact, as Ms. Herman was just saying, of BTS, that BTS is so beloved, the demand to see them is so great that a national president could interject a request on behalf of eager fans. That's amazing. How many pop stars are even known by national leaders?
Definitely. So we will look forward to, BTS's next actions. And, it really goes beyond entertainment and they're becoming a form of cultural influence. We will look forward to that. And we hope to speak to you again after their return in just around 30 days. Thank you so much for your time and for your insights tonight, Professor Seji.
Thank you.
And Ms. Herman, of course, we really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.
And that'll be all from us on Within the Frame tonight. Be sure to tune in again next time as we continue to explore the stories that matter. Until then, stay informed and engaged.